Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bexhill-on-Sea Full Town Council for Wednesday the 26th of February. Those of you that are eagle-eyed will realise that the current chair and deputy chair are not here at the moment. They have sent their apologies, and so it bestows on me, the most senior councillor here, to start the proceedings off and ask my fellow councillors as to whether they would like to nominate a person to chair this meeting only and for today. Have I got a nomination? Councillor Thomas.
Nominate Plym. Councillor Plym.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have we got a seconder for that?
Yeah. I'd second that, but I query senior.
Second.
Been here as long as you have.
There are certain reasons, I'll let you know that.
No.
Are there any other nominations? All those in favour? Thank you very much. And thank you very much. Right, so we will continue with the meeting. Can I remind everybody to switch their mobile phones off, as otherwise it does interfere with the radio microphones recording this meeting. And the agenda, first item on there is public participation. I notice we have one member of the public present. Are you wishing to speak? Okay then, right, we will move straight on to item 2, which is apologies for absence. I will ask the clerk if we've had any apologies.
So I have Chair Councillor Hampton's at work, Councillor Carroll's unwell, Councillor L is doing childcare tonight, Councillor Hussein's on holiday, and Councillor Wilson has another engagement.
Okay, they are the apologies. Everybody okay with them? We then will continue through to item 3, declarations of interest. Have we got any declarations of interest? Councillor Winter.
Member of the District Council, Chair.
Councillor Drayson.
Same as Councillor Winter.
Councillor Byrne.
Same again.
And Councillor...
Yeah, same again, and also Cabinet portfolio for neighbourhood services, which includes parks and gardens.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other interests? Okay, we will move on then to item 4, Chairman's announcements. One thing I would like to say, due to the financial nature and questions that you might be asking, item 7A, which is regarding the Christmas lights and the suspension of financial regulations, I'm going to move that right to the very end of the meeting so we can have that in closed session, and that will be after item 18. Okay, moving on, item 5, minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of January. Are they a correct account of that meeting, and have I got your authority to sign them off?
Yes.
Yep, okay, thank you very much. Bear with me a moment. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6, committees. 2 committees have been held since our last full council meeting: engagement and communication on the 5th of the 2nd, and finance and audit committee on the 12th of the 2nd. They are just for noting that we have received them. If anyone hasn't received copies of that or haven't got the emails for it, look on the website, you'll find the details on the website there. Item 7, recommendations for committees. There is one recommendation which I've spoken to about earlier on, and that will be moved through to item 18, after item 18. So we will go ahead to item 8, Marina Gardens planting. This is to consider collaborating with Rother District Council on Marina Gardens. The planting for the costs of £9,000, and that £9,000 will be taken from general reserves. Those of you may wish to ask the question, why wasn't this brought up at the Amenities Committee? It evolved from a leaders meeting between Rother District and Bexhill Town Council, initially on the 15th of November, and then again on the 17th of January. And we have only just received the financial details of this particular project, and therefore we couldn't fit it in to any of our committee meetings. And the finances and the timescale is such that it has to be agreed at this meeting in order for the planting to go ahead ready for the spring. Otherwise, the next amenities meeting will be sort of out of kilter with the planting regime. So that's a bit of background to it. I'll put it out there to everybody. Councillor Gross.
Just a sort of minor comment. I mean, it seems quite a good idea, but the last email from Doug Oliver on their pound for pound matching, which makes it £7,000 each rather than 9. That's not a great difference.
We can only go on what has been requested.
Yeah, that was his. He was the last email. So
Exactly. Anybody else, Councillor?
So I'm aware of quite a bit of public interest in this bit of Bexhill from social media. So I'm pleased that something will be done, and therefore happy that this has come forward. What's not clear to me, I think are they things that get planted this year and then will be dug up and another lot put in next year? Or will they get planted this year and still be there next year? So is this a cost that gets amortised over more than 1 year, or is it a repeating cost?
I'll just have a look on here, see whether there's any details about this. I think a lot of these shrubs are perennial,
yeah.
so they would be sort of there for a long-term situation there.
Thank you.
Councillor Drayson.
Yes, can I just ask the clerk, please? Because I remember some time ago, as this involves finance, and I am a member of Rother, am I allowed to take part in this, and am I allowed to vote in it? Because it has financial implications, and I am a member of Rother.
We'll just find out what well.
Unfortunately, I can't give advice on
No.
declarations of interest, so that advice is given by the monitoring officer.
Yeah.
So we aren't able to tell you what you would need to do. That's something you'd have to seek from Rother.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should probably make a comment later then. Not vote.
Councillor Blagrove.
Having raised a petition some time ago about, the flowers in the town and that, I'm really happy to see this. But my question is it only that part that's going to be done, or are there other parts? Are there other, like the Town Hall Square, for instance?
The project that's been presented to us is only Marina Gardens.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. My concern was, one, this came to us quite late on, again, wanting a decision now type of thing, which doesn't seem that they're really, like you gave a bit of background saying that they know it's about November 17th, but it just seems that it's a very snap decision now. 9,000 is quite a lot of money for just flowers on this bit. Why suddenly to now, this year, when the last 2 years they're quite happy to left it to be a wild garden, as they called it?
That's a question you'd have to ask your colleagues that are on RDC.
Right, and the other thing was that, I would personally like to see all the flower pots around the town have nice new flowers in. Just this garden. But it just seems to me a lot of money for the flowers down there, when if it's for all the flower pots around the town as well, it'll make the town look nicer. Just one section of the town.
Yeah. We can only go on the project that's been presented to us and the costings that are presented to us in that project. Councillor Byrne.
Right, these are not flowers. We're not going back to the sort of carpet garden. There was the reason for a late decision. There was a lot of discussion within Rother as to whether we wanted to continue with the so-called wildflowers, which lots of people didn't think looked very nice, and the residents weren't happy. However, our green councillors were very keen on that. Equally, when you look at bedding plants, evidently the carbon footprint of bedding plants, by the time you've raised them in a greenhouse and then put them out, and as Councillor Jekyll suggested, you've then got to do it all again next year at the same cost. So that debate was rattling around in Rother. So that's the apologies for the late decision. Rother did come down to the fact that the midway was not to revert to the wildflowers, which really weren't popular, but to go for sustainable shrubs. And a lot of thought has been given to the sustainability and the biodiversity of the plants that have been chosen, which is probably what then resulted in the slightly different cost from the first email. So Rother now has a definite plan for those shrubs. I would imagine I'll ask my colleague, is the description online already for everyone, or is it just for Rother at the moment?
It's just for Rother at the moment.
Okay, so it will be published. The details of the planting and what's going where is in draft form at the moment, and it'll hopefully come out reasonably soon. Okay, so that's why it was late. That's why we're going for it. It is sustainable shrubs on a perennial basis, not come again.
Councillor Timpey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, Councillor Byrne's exactly right. That's exactly what's been happening. Lots of toing and froing with various other councillors, various other parties, etc., etc. But the alternative is that the whole place is just grassed over. And as we as a council have committed, sort of in conversations, that we want to take on parks and gardens, it would be very, very strange for us not to support something in collaboration with the authority, because this is a discretionary service and we don't have any money. So to me it would demonstrate a cooperative situation that we really do need to get to that point, because we're going to be having a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and we just need to get over our concerns about timing or whatever, because things are very complicated at the moment and there's an awful lot going on.
Okay, Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Clark. I think it's a really, really good idea, and I actually fully support it. Would it be possible to include some form of board that states that this has been jointly done by the Town Council and Rother District Council, because we quite often get told, and no one sees it, that we don't work together and that we don't support things and we don't do this and we don't do that. At least if there's something there that shows that this is what we've done together, it may well make people think, well, we do actually work together.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can relay that back to Rother District Council when we, if we go ahead with this particular motion there. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, what committee was it that we decided we're taking on Parks and Gardens?
We haven't.
We haven't.
yet.
No. If you listen to what I said was there's been lots of conversations that we want to do that. There has been no official.
So who's the we?
This council. You're not saying that we haven't discussed Parks and Gardens, surely?
We haven't decided on anything.
We haven't
decided.
We haven't.
Listen.
Excuse me.
We haven't decided. We've just discussed it. It seems to be a general wish.
General wish, or general that we're going to have it like either lump it or like it.
But
through the Chair, but yes.
Yeah, well, regardless whether it's through the Chair, this is getting into a bit of a tit-for-tat situation.
No, I just want to clarify what meant by we.
Clarification is that we have been discussing it. Every one of us knows at some time or other we've raised the idea of Parks and Gardens. It's not actually come to a decision, a motion being put forward to a committee, and a decision has not been made on that subject at the moment. This is a broaching the idea of working in collaboration in that 2 to 3 year period where we seem to have got a bit of space there where Parks and Gardens may come down to us should we wish to take them on board. So, Councillor Byrne.
Back on track again. With what you were saying about the information board, it would be a really good idea if we could have a description of what the plants are. Just a quickie, because they're going to be perennials, it's always nice to be able to look along the back and think, oh, that's one of those, that's one of those.
An email was sent out with all the plan for the Parks and Gardens.
Yes.
That was sent to all councillors.
I've seen it. I didn't know that everybody had seen it.
It went to everybody. Yeah.
Okay. But I think that would be nice if we're going to have a board to have the shrub information on it as well.
Councillor Jacklin.
Yeah, I just actually supporting Councillor Byrne. I think that the point is really that this is a permanent solution because if people are worried about us spending money, it's quite a good middle ground. Well done.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing more to be said, I'd like to put this to the vote, just to be sure what you're voting on. This is to consider collaborating with Rother District Council on Marina Gardens, planting for the costs of £9,000 from general reserves. Have I got a Councillor Blagrove is going to put that. Councillor seconder for that. Councillor Thomas is seconding that. So all those in favour, please raise your hands, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 9. We've all received the update of the Mayor's work for the past month or so. It's on Appendix D there. I'll move on to item 10. Reports from councillors. We have received a report from the East Sussex County Councillor, Councillor Hollidge, and within it are a few concerns there that some of you may wish to raise. Does anyone wish to raise anything that Councillor Hollidge has highlighted within that report?
Can you nip through the point just as the main?
Yes,
because I haven't got it. I didn't get it printed out.
I shall go through with it. Except he writes, please accept my apologies for not attending the full council this Wednesday. Please find below an email sent today regarding Rother's full council tonight and a concern I have regarding the proposed introduction of evening parking charges at the Delaware Pavilion car park. I ask if the Town Council also has similar concerns, and if so, would you also be able to raise it with Rother? The concern he has is that the car park charges at the Delaware Pavilion will take place at a time when there are no parking charges on the roads surrounding, and therefore a lot of people may be tempted to park in the surrounding roads rather than the car park. And do we wish to raise that as a concern? Councillor Gross.
Yeah, I think we should do. I mean, they're planning on charging up to 11 o'clock at night, I think, or something, which is obviously pretty late. We lack parking around here. It's going to discourage more people or drive them onto surrounding roads. Delaware isn't the cheapest place to park in the world anyway. But I think it is sort of pushing it. It's bad enough with the ESCC doing it till 8 o'clock along the front. But
yeah, he's seeking clarification because there's no actually time limit given within their current sort of, approach to this. So that's something we should be considering as well. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. Yeah, just on what Councillor Goss has just said there, is if you introduce late night parking in the Delaware, then where does it stop? Does it then in 6 months' time go into all of the other areas in and around the town that are pay parking at the moment? Does that then increase their times? Does it then go to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock? It's going to have a detrimental effect on the town. Everything in the town at the moment is always around parking is people can't park, people go elsewhere, people don't want to pay. If you introduce that into the evenings, all of the businesses that are open of an evening, your restaurants, your pubs, your bars and all of those sort of places where people can take their car, park their car overnight, go and get it in the morning, it's all going to be taken away. And I don't think that if you start in one place, it stops there, it then moves on to everywhere else, in my opinion.
Okay. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Also, I think there'd be a big uproar from all the residents that won't be able to park when they come back from a busy day at work or picking up the kids from school or anything like that, and or going anywhere else. You know, I don't think that's again short-sightedness on Rother part of you. When the residents and people who have parking permits won't be able to use them.
Councillor Drayson.
Yeah, my understanding, this is Delaware set aside, this isn't new. I've parked tonight in the car park up the road, which is till 7 o'clock. It's annoyed me intensely, and I will still try and get Rother to join up with East Sussex to make sure that their times are complementary. This isn't a new problem. As long as the car parks are charging till 7 o'clock, and you can park on the street from 7, some 6 people will park at the very times people are trying to get home. So it is worth, I think, this council saying at least that Rother and East Sussex need to get their times to work together to complement each other and not go their own.
Councillor Winter. Oh, sorry, I thought you had your hand up. Councillor Jacklin.
I essentially would have said the same thing as Councillor Drayson. I think there are 3 different time limits on parking. Certainly I've fallen foul of it, not expecting to pay and getting a ticket. This would be a 4th, so whether we do a motion which objects to the 4th, saying we object to a later time, or whether we do a motion that asks them to align their timings, I don't know.
As we wind up this meeting, can somebody think of a motion that we can put forward then? So, who was Councillor Tempe?
Yeah, no, this proposal was in the budget consultation, wasn't it? And I'm not sure that we responded. I'm just wondering if it's too late to respond, because it's all
agreed on.
it's all been to cabinet and been to full council. I'm just putting it out there.
Okay, Councillor Drayson.
So yeah, that aspect, the budget and the Delaware, is done and dusted. But I still think we should be asking them to look at the times.
But I think the fly in the ointment here is East Sussex.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Would you like to put a motion forward, or shall I sort of put one forward? I tend to think that we should put forward that this council is concerned regarding the disparity between Rother District Council parking timing and East Sussex parking timing, and therefore would like to see a harmonisation of both councils' approach to parking within Bexhill.
I think we need to be careful that East Sussex don't put theirs up.
Well, that's up to you to lobby your East Sussex County Council about that. Is everybody okay with the wording of that particular motion? Did the clerk?
Yeah, so just to note, you did respond to the budget consultation, and the parking you mentioned was free parking.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you objected to free parking in that. So I've got, it was resolved to raise a concern about the disparity of the timing of parking charges between East Sussex County Council and Rother District Council, and that this council would like to see it addressed.
Okay.
Can I add something to that? That would have a very big knock-on effect for the residents with their parking permits as well, because a lot of people with parking permits won't bother if they can't get a space. I know it's not guaranteed, but...
So what would you like to add to it?
Well, I'm more thinking about the residents who live around in those streets where the Delaware is, and a bit further out of the area, they're parking their cars there to get away from not paying.
So what would you like to add to the motion?
I would like to add something where, for the residents' point of view,
Maybe that is also unfair on residents with parking permits who won't be able to get spaces.
Would you like? We have also concerns about residents' parking permits.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Whenever there's anything going on in the town, I find it impossible to park anywhere near where I live, in the town centre.
Okay, well I've put that forward as a motion. Have I got a seconder for that particular motion? Councillor Crotty. All those in favour, please raise your hands. And that's carried. Thank you very much. Right, so that was the East Sussex County Councillors' report. Is there anything else anyone wants to raise from that report that we received? No, I shall... we all got given a copy of it.
No, we didn't. But there was a copy on my phone, but I just can't remember all the dozens of things that came out.
Paper copies, you see. Right. I will move on to item 11. Councillor Temple.
Sorry, Chair. In that section it says ward reports.
Yep.
District. I just need to update.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Sorry.
Fine.
A couple of things. You all probably saw the tankers down at Blind Gap. The problems were stemmed from equipment that had to be reinstalled in Robertsbridge. Now, normally, my contacts at Southern Water alert us to these instances. In this case, they didn't. So the whole, trucks are rolling 24 hours a day and upsetting everybody. They did put a letter out to all residents opposite, at the end there. That went late though, so if you've had any problems with anyone, I can talk to them or try to relieve their worries. And the other thing is the Egerton Park Lake, which has been drained, as you know. That was for a couple of reasons. Southern Water were trying to check, which is why the dye went in, where the water was maybe going into various places it shouldn't have been going. That work was ongoing, and I'm told, fingers crossed, that it will be filled again by the end of the week. So hopefully it will be, because the little swans are going along in the mud, which is a shame. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Jacqueline.
Sorry, I'd missed a couple of things on the East Sussex report. So they alert us to the fact that Cabinet will be discussing how to protect and sustain assets for local communities, and there is an opportunity for BTC to put forward expressions of interest. So I think that is relevant to us. And they also flagged a consultation, which the report of which will be due on the 20th of March. So presumably so we don't have a chance to feed into that other than talking about it at this meeting. But I think it's the devolution of assets that we should be particularly concerned with. Is that something we need to talk about today?
The devolution of assets is a conversation that will be taking place between East Sussex, Rother and ourselves, between officers at the moment. Once they have ascertained a list of what they think is going to happen, that list will be passed on to us for consideration, in which case we can then decide yay or nay, or even then, hang on, something's missing from that list, can we have this? But until that happens, I think we must let the officers of either East Sussex, Rother District and ourselves to have those conversations and present us with their findings in due course. Any other questions? Any other points from ward councillors, district councillors, town councillors? Then I'll move on. And Councillor Crotty.
Just for the town centre, the only issue that's happening at the moment are potholes, sinkholes, trip hazards, and that's something that needs to be. I've reported it on the Fix My App street every time I see one, because sadly a lady fell flat face first outside Iceland and had police and critical care unit there. Because when I went past Iceland yesterday, there is a stone that's about that high up in the air. So I reported that on Fix My Street, and hopefully they are pretty good. They come out and either change it or fix it. So that's the only thing. It's just the town's coming to a bit of a quagmire with trip hazards everywhere.
Okay. Move on to item 11. Rother District Council liaison. This is to note that there is a leaders meeting taking place on the 21st of March. It's our opportunity now, if there's anybody wishes to forward a question that the chair of the council can present to the leader of Rother District Council, now's the time to record that question. If there are no forthcoming questions, then I will move on. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you. This new hub that's coming into the town centre, would that have any effect for Bexhill Town Council?
Is that a question you wish to ask Rother District Council?
That as well as there's talk about a banking hub there as well. So that'd be another issue.
Okay, to move on. Yep. Okay. Item 11 B. Note that we are awaiting an update on the request of their acquisition of Rother District Council Town Hall and a list of discretionary services, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. We will be getting that in due course. Item 11C. The Channel View public convenience lease is with the solicitors. They are doing their due scrutiny of the legal framework there, and they will report back to us when they are finished. Councillor Thomas.
There's a question. Until recently, the toilets were open, and now they're closed. Is there any reason why?
That's an observation rather than a question.
No, the question is why are they closed?
You'd have to ask Rother District Council for that. I think there's some building work going on in there, as far as I'm aware.
I thought they'd reopened since the building was they could have closed again, I don't know.
Okay. Item 11D is to note there's been no clarification on the ownership of war memorials received, and this matter is being followed up regularly. We are led to believe that Rother District Council are in ownership of the Bexhill War Memorial on the seafront, but there seems to be some sort of ambiguity regarding the one at Little Common, whether it's Highways or the Wargrave Commission, but research is underway as to find out whether we go forward with that. It would be handy to note from this council whether we would be interested in receiving ownership of the War Memorial at the seafront in order to go forward. So that might be something you might want to declare an interest in as we go forward. Councillor Byrne?
I assume that will be on the list of assets, if it is a Rother asset, so that'll be up for consideration when the list comes out and we can discuss them one by one.
Let's hope so. Okay. Note item 11E, this is to say that the heads of terms for Plebsham Play Park are being progressed. These things do take time. Unfortunately, when it comes to sort of local government, it doesn't work as quickly as either you or I would like it to, but it's doing due diligence to make sure everything is correct, and when it proceeds forward it will be a fantastic asset for this town. Item 11F, a vision exercise has been arranged for the 16th of April, and hopefully by then we will have a lot more information about devolution and information coming down from there. Councillor Drayson.
I was just going to ask in relation to that, can we have some sort of homework or information beforehand so that we don't really start with a totally empty blank space with us all looking at each other for the first half hour?
I would say until the 16th of April, I think if we all think about what services we'd like to take on, and just come there with a shopping list and look at how you feel that this council should be progressing in the next couple of years once the devolution of services come down to us. What would you like it to look like after that? Councillor Blagrave.
I do remember that we had a conversation about the last visioning exercise when they were talking about that, and that we said, it'd be good to get our ducks in a row before we get to the meeting, because otherwise it's quite a lot of wasted time, and no one really knows what structure or where to go with it. So I don't know how we're going to do that, but it needs to be done, I think.
Anybody else? Yeah. Councillor Thomas?
Yes, I take it that this exercise will be a carry on from the previous one.
Yes. Anybody else? Councillor Byrne.
Yeah, I think the previous exercises were really split between some people diving down into detail, what are we going to do in the next couple of months, and the chairman and mayor wanted to say we're looking next 10, 20 years, and there was a disconnect. I think now people have got their heads around the fact that we do want to look long term, but you're quite right. The long term is going to be, there's a lot of things going to be under our control that weren't previously. So I think as well as looking at immediate impact of devolution, we can probably look at a more positive or a more definite view for the future, because a lot more stuff is going to be under our control.
Councillor Blagrave.
Can I just ask, because obviously there's a set amount of assets, and are we to pick and choose what we want? Are we not going to get all of them?
No.
You can pick and choose what you want.
Sorry.
It depends what we as a council want.
We won't get everything, because otherwise there'd be no need for any other council above us.
Yeah.
But and there are certain services that are statutory that we will have no say in anyway. That will automatically go up to the new statutory authority. But there are a number of discretionary services that will be coming down to us.
And assets.
And assets. And these are things that we could be looking into once the officers have done their research and presented us with a list. If there's something on there that isn't on there, we can raise our concerns and say, actually, you've missed out this. Why has it gone up to the higher authority? Why can't we look after that? So the conversation is to be had once we get that list. Councillor Drayson.
Just want to say, don't forget East Sussex is going as well.
Yes.
It is not just taking out the district councils.
Yeah.
East Sussex is going, so they might have stuff they want to push down, and there's nothing in between. So that'll be coming to us as well. So it's not just all about Rother. East Sussex is going as well.
Point well made. Councillor Temple.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The timing for everything, as I understand it from the government, is expressions of interest, and they can come from anywhere, not just us, can come from private sector, from anywhere, to express an interest. Like if there's a business in Bexhill that wants the War Memorial or whatever, they can express an interest. So we can't take it for granted that, I mean, I think personally that we would be given preferential, but you know, it's not a given, but the services, discretionary services, perhaps we would want those.
And I must say, I personally feel that is a very dangerous situation to be in, because you'll get unelected quangos being in charge of certain areas of this country that the democratic elected people, ourselves, would like to have been consulted at least on. We have a number of bodies starting up with lots of millions of pounds being given to them, and if they start forming a local government in exile, we could have a little bit of a problem here. But these are things that are happening up and down the country, and I really do suggest that you see what's happening elsewhere, what has happened elsewhere, as to what things other councillors are taking on. Councillor Crotter. Councillor Byrne.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, taking up your point, we're slightly different in this area, but if you look even around our parish councils, the number of people who've just rocked up and said, I want to be a parish councillor, they haven't been elected. They don't really have a mandate. So you've already got the situation where, because things are being devolved downwards, or district and county are vanishing, the parish councils that they're devolved to, we've got a case in point where a parish and then a group of parishes spent a lot of residents' money pursuing a planning application or pursuing an objection to a planning application, which was never it's been rejected at every level. And they've now been told they can't go any higher, they can't go to the House of Lords or European Court or whatever. God knows how much money they wasted on that, but it's largely people who are not very representative of their area. So your concerns are absolutely right, and they don't just and it's not just in respect of other bodies, some of the parish councils. So hopefully anyone who's looking at this recording, get involved with who you elect to your town and your parish council, because the turnout has been disastrous, and the more people who vote, then the more representative bodies like this will be, which is important if we're then the authority in control of quite a large budget.
Okay. Councillor Crossy.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned about a list that could come down for us, what we can pick and choose, or will come down. Would it come down before the visiting exercise?
We hope so.
Because it just seems that we could be wasting a lot of time talking about something that we might not even get a chance to look at. If we had a list, personally I would like to see the list so we can then do some more homework and study of what there is and go from there. If there's actual a surefire we can have these thrown down to us, then great, we can then work on them. But if it's just pie and sky, we're going to waste a lot of time talking about things that could happen.
We've got to wait to see what is going to be proposed. So once that's proposed, then we can have the discussion.
Right.
Councillor Drayson.
The only advantage with the pie in the sky that Councillor Crotty was saying there is that then we could be in a position where we ask for something, not just being given something. We might identify some things that we would like to have and that nobody was thinking about ever sending to us. So it's swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. Councillor Jacklin.
But picking up on what Councillor Crotty said, is it that we should have a philosophy about who we are and what we want, and then we look at the list, or does that philosophy derive from looking at the list? In which case, do we, if we've not got the list by April, do we wait?
Let's just say we've got a visioning exercise booked for the 16th of April. We'll see what happens.
Right. Okay.
Moving on. Item 12, a conclusion of audits. This is to note that the audit has been completed for the financial year 24-25 and the publication of the conclusion of the audit notice is in accordance to the statutory requirements. All done. That's just for noted. Item 13, reports from external representatives. I will go through them if you'd like me to, or we take them en masse as reports that have not been received for this particular month, but it could be because of the last meeting was so quick. What I will put on there, though, that there's been some developments on the Coombe Valley CIC. That doesn't appear on this list here, but it is an external representative that we have on there. The external representative, Councillor Byrne, has decided to step down from that particular position, and I believe he's nominating another councillor to take that position up. Would you like to elaborate further?
Absolutely correct. Whilst I was the nominated representative, Councillor Jacklin was invited to become a director of CIC, and it would seem far more logical that a director who was also a councillor would perform both functions. We both went to a meeting of the CIC this afternoon. That's acceptable to them. I believe it's acceptable to our clerk in terms of procedure, so I'm happy to step down and for the nominated liaison person with the Coombe Valley CIC to be Councillor Jacklin.
Okay. Is anyone willing to second that nomination? Councillor Peters seconding that. All those in favour of nominating Councillor Jacklin to the Coombe Valley CIC, please raise your hands. And that's it, carried unanimously. Thank you very much. As Councillor Tempe.
Sorry, Chair. Apologies that I didn't have a report to send because there hadn't been anything happening yesterday on Bexhill Maritime, and they have had their pre-app, which is wonderful, and they've had the pre-app advice document sent to them, which is really very, very detailed. And so they're going through that now, so things are moving very slowly, but that's a real big step. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Byrne.
I've sent a report from the Citizens Advice Bureau to the clerk, but I'm happy to read out what I've got if the meeting's interested.
By all means.
Right. Under the various headings, digital inclusion of the Bexhill drop-ins. So the CAB have Bexhill drop-ins. As you know, as their premises is now far more open than it used to be, and you can drop in. We're open 9:30 a.m. till 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, and local people seem to know it's there. I'm wondering whether the town councillors might distribute some leaflets to their local groups and constituents as they see them, or in lieu of leaflets, just make people aware or put it on your Facebook pages, please. They can collect leaflets from the CAB office, or we can bring some to the town council office. Next paragraph, energy advice update. As you know, last time they were very much active out in rural Rother with energy advice with the winter. Okay, the winter is getting a bit better now. But their advice update is UK Power Networks continue to fund low carbon transition energy advice as well as fuel poverty work in Rother. And we have been, or the CAB have been awarded the ESCC Public Health slightly strange wording here. We have also been awarded the ESCC Public Health Funded Warm Home Check Service contract. So, I'll summarise that. They've got funding to do warm home checks, and the funding came from ESCC. Before Christmas, the CAB took part in a local campaign to encourage people to take up their entitlement for pension tax credits. A number of Bexhill residents came forward for help in applying. That's also an initiative that's been taken up by the anti-poverty group in Bexhill and officers. Just by way of information, Rother District Council has been given some software that makes it a lot easier to identify areas where people are likely to be under claiming benefits. It's anonymised, the actual database is anonymised, but put that together with our revenues and benefits database, it means Rother Council can reach out to people and say, do you realise you're eligible for this and you're not claiming? So that's something that the CAB have also piggybacked on and are doing the best they can. Lastly, they've got some legacy funding for use on developing or providing a financial capability service for young people and adults. They're working with the South East lead for the money and pension services on this. This is early days, so watch this space. So CAB are looking at financial advice for young people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Jacklin.
Nothing on the scope on drought. You've had the minutes, and I think that flags the intention to do more about devolution, but we're not yet seeing that manifesting itself. A couple of things from the Coombe Valley meeting. We have given them a grant which was for accessibility and signage. It's not clear whether that will get spent on both or just signage, in which case they will contact the clerk to make sure it's within the intended purpose before spending it. They also talked about cycle paths, and somebody mentioned the fact that four wheels, i.e. mobility scooters, etc., are quite important, and I think what I would like to do is to make sure that where paths are created for cycles, we actually put four wheels first, because there are so many people who need mobility aids. The big thing was, though, that there is a large leak which they will write to Southern Water about, copy to the MP and to us, and for those of you who are fans of Southern Water, I think I've got the right organisation. If you want to reiterate it to the MP, we'll copy the MP in as well. So there's just a great big leak which has been going on for 2 years. I think that's part of the course.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe the Councillor Wilson presented the papers for the town board. I don't believe there's any other reports from anybody else there, so I'll move on to item 14, motions from councillors. There were none. Item 15, correspondence and matters for information. Now that we haven't got a planning meeting, we will be receiving a lot of communication regarding planning straight into full council now, and one of these items was from the Pegasus group regarding the installation of replacement apparatus at Coodon Beach Sports and Social Club for 5G mobile connectivity. Those of you that have seen that details there, are there any comments that anyone wishes to make? Councillor Jacklin.
Question through you to the clerk. Has the deadline effectively expired for us to say anything about this? So I think the letter was dated the 15th of January and mentioned 14 days. So is it past due?
Yeah, 28 days.
Okay.
So planning, I thought, 28 days.
Yeah, but
when it's listed.
This is not a planning thing.
I'm just reading the letter.
Yeah.
Doesn't we only received this in the last 2 weeks, so we didn't receive this in January. So
So it's got one of those magic dates on it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any comments you wish to make regarding the...
I'm aware that quite a few people have concerns about 5G, but I've not got enough into the details to see whether it merits doing anything. I mean, the assumption is that it's all nice and necessary, and therefore it always happens. But there are people who have concerns about it.
There's,
Councillor Gross.
I think there's a lot of sort of misinformation about it. I mean, there were people with concerns about 2G, 3G and 4G as well, which they don't seem to understand. No, that 5G is actually less strong, which is why there are more masts, and sort of less damaging, if any are damaging at all, than 4G. So, but it is... There is a lot of misinformation out there.
Okay. If there are no further comments, I will move on to 15B. This is from the Bexhill Heritage Consultation proposed East Sussex Eastern Conservation. You can all read it. Basically, it's a conservation area for the Sackville ward to hopefully marry the Central Ward conservation area as well. So it's a very good report. Any comments from anybody?
Did we get that in email report?
Yes, it was sent out, I believe, ahead of the agenda, I believe. So details of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't. The appendices didn't seem to be there with mine, or maybe it was my phone couldn't open them.
Yeah, it's 28 pages of
the
real detail and buildings in the area.
The appendices have got the maps and this sort of thing showing the area covered, and I haven't got that.
No.
Does anyone wish to make any comment regarding this? Councillor Templey.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Do you think we should somehow support it? Because it's going to have to go to Rother, isn't it? Conservation and planning. I mean, it's an excellent piece of work, and they're doing everything in the right order, checking and sharing it with other people and other institutions. So I'm just wondering if we ought to lend some support to it. I mean, I don't know if they've asked for it. I can't remember.
I think if all the members are happy with this report and can see the benefit of this report, I think it will do them the world of good if this town council supported them in their application for this process.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that if we could.
Okay. Would anyone like to make any further comments, Councillor Crotty?
It was just really, can I get a printout of that report, please, as it's 28 pages or 20 pages long? It was sent out, Alan, on the 13th of February.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I saw the report, I
Yeah.
read that, but there were no appendices on.
Okay, so Councillor Jacklin.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the details of the report, but one of the concerns I've had expressed about conservation areas is it means that you've always got to do your windows in a certain way, and that's an additional expense and a problem. Is that a worry, or is that all right here?
I believe Councillor Byrne is chomping at the bit to sort of say something on this.
I've already said this at a meeting, whether it was a committee or full council. If it wasn't full council, I'll say it again. Both Councillor Tempe and I were invited to an initial meeting to see, as ward councillors for RDC, to see what we thought of it. I was very impressed with the fact that it's not that sort of conservation area. They are looking for the art of the possible. So let's not lock out any development by saying if it isn't a tree that grew in 1790 you can't have your window frame around it. But there are some stupid things that happen with conservation which end up with buildings and features being left to fall down rather than being repaired. As far as I can see, this report, and I recommend everyone to read it, really goes into the right level of detail to say here's the vision of what we're trying to do, and we're not going to be too prescriptive, and we recognise that the conservation area in itself is quite varied and has varying styles, and that's what we're after. So I'm very happy to support it, and I had the same reservations as Councillor Jacqueline, but they were more than catered for in the report when I read it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, because I believe in town centre the conservation area is relaxed because there are some properties, like my property itself, we had to get box-slash windows standard size, the new ones, where around me there's just normal windows that I've just not going with the character, and they've just been not done at all.
Okay, so we've got the proposals put forward here. We've got a motion from Councillor Tempe to support it, and I believe Councillor Byrne is seconding that motion.
Indeed.
If anyone else wishes to speak on it, please do, but if not, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour that this council supports this initiative, please raise your hands. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 16, questions from councillors. Have we to receive answers to questions raised at the last meeting? They're all there. Councillor Drayson.
I'd just like to say on my one there, I did go to the Engagement Communications Committee on the 5th of February. I got 2 very useful pieces of advice, which I am following, and shouldn't have to bother the council anymore then.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to follow up anything on those questions? I will move on to item 16C to note any future agenda items. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. I'm surprised there's nothing being said or done about VE Day actually on the 8th of May. I saw there's one for the 11th, but the actual date, Thursday the 8th of May, would be more signified and important due to the fact that this will possibly be the last time we can say thank you to the men and women who serviced and animals around in the wars. Because obviously the 8th of May is the main one, and obviously they're talking about lighting beacons as well. Now, I would like to see something being done on the actual 8th of May with Bexhill Town Council and Robber Partnership as well for this, as it's such a very important day.
The Royal British Legion are putting an event on the Saturday. They consider that to be the main event for the town, and I believe that is in keeping with most other towns around the country and the Royal British Legion.
Right.
No doubt there will be a service of some type that they will be also involved in, and they will let us know when they are.
There's nothing that Bexhill or Robber will be doing anything on the actual VE Day itself that marks an important day.
As far as I'm aware, there is no events that are taking place officially from either of the councils because they're concentrating on assisting the Royal British Legion on the Saturday.
Right, okay.
Looking at, I've just missed 16A, to receive questions from councillors at the meeting. So have we got any questions for the next meeting? Councillor Blagrove.
I'd just like to say that I was contacted by a resident that used to do some of the ceremonies and marches and things in Eastbourne, and he pointed out and said that he'd like to speak to somebody on this council about the marches where things are in the wrong place, and he would like to know if he can come and speak to somebody in the council about that. So
Okay, if you pass the contact details on to the clerk, I'm sure that the communication will be forthcoming.
Okay.
Any other questions to go forward? Councillor Jacqueline.
This is for the next meeting.
Yes.
Would we be able to have an update on the toilets? Specifically, do we know which ones have been bought or are under offer, and which ones are we likely to be considering taking over?
Okay.
Also, I note that the housing consultation that Rosa are running closes on the 31st of March, and so that's on our next town council agenda. I don't know how important it is and whether we should discuss what we're going to discuss, or whether we just turn up at the next meeting and discuss it with a week to go.
Unfortunately, we can't discuss it at this meeting because the information was given to us once this meeting's agenda had been put forward. So that's why it's on the next agenda. No. Anybody else? I'll move on then to item 16D, to consider new risks to be added to the risk register. I don't believe there is anything that anyone wishes to add to that. I don't believe the clerk has identified any risks to be added on. So therefore we will move on to item 17. Date of the next meeting is the 26th of March, sorry. And all motions for that meeting must be put forward by the 17th of March. I will now close this meeting to the public because we've got 3 items that need to be discussed in closed proximity. So meeting closed. Thank you.